19 famous Hollywood actresses of the 80s who have aged badly, then and now 2026. Hollywood once celebrated these women as icons of beauty, talent, and charm. But as years passed, illness, pressure, addiction, rumors, and public judgment changed the way the world looked at them. Stay with classic Hollywood legends, because these stories reveal what fame can do when the spotlight refuses to look away. Meg Ryan. Meg Ryan was one of the actresses people genuinely liked. In the 1990s, she became a major name through romantic comedies like When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle, and You've Got Mail. She had a natural screen presence that made her feel easy to connect with. She was funny, warm, and never seemed too polished or distant. But after years of success, Meg slowly stepped away from the center of Hollywood. When she appeared in public again, the attention was no longer mainly about her movies. People started talking about her face, comparing old photos with newer ones, and spreading rumors about cosmetic procedures. Meg has not publicly confirmed many of those claims, so it would be unfair to treat them as fact. Why do people act like actresses from the 1990s are supposed to look the same forever? What happened to Meg Ryan says more about the public than it does about her. She gave audiences some of the most memorable romantic comedies of her era, but later much of the conversation around her became focused on appearance. That is a harsh reality for many women in Hollywood. Meg Ryan's legacy should not be reduced to how she looks today. She is remembered because her performances felt honest, familiar, and human, and that matters far more than any rumor. Tara Reid. Tara Reid was once one of those young Hollywood faces people expected to see everywhere. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, movies like American Pie made her familiar to a whole generation. She had the look, the timing, and the kind of easy screen presence that fit perfectly with the teen comedies of that era. But Tara's career became harder to separate from the headlines around her. As her fame grew, the media focused more on her partying, her body, and her appearance than on her acting. That kind of attention can be brutal, especially when every mistake becomes a photo, a headline, or a joke. How do you rebuild your confidence when the public remembers your worst moments more than your work? Tara later spoke openly about cosmetic procedures that did not go the way she hoped. Instead of giving her more confidence, they brought even more attention and criticism. For a while, those stories seemed to overshadow the actress audiences first knew from American Pie. Still, Tara Reid kept going. She continued working, took on new projects, and found a second wave of attention through films like Sharknado. Her story is not just about beauty or surgery. It is about how quickly Hollywood can turn a young actress into a target, and how difficult it can be to take back your own name. Liza Minnelli. Liza Minnelli was never just Judy Garland's daughter. She had to prove herself under one of the biggest shadows in entertainment history. And she did. With Cabaret, she became a true star in her own right, winning the Academy Award and creating one of the most unforgettable performances of the 1970s. But Liza's life was never as easy as it looked from the stage. Fame came early, pressure followed closely, and her personal struggles became part of the public conversation. Over the years, she dealt with addiction, health problems, and long periods where her body simply would not let her perform the way audiences remembered. How hard is it to keep being legendary when your health and private life are falling apart in public? There have been rumors about cosmetic surgery, but Liza has never made that the center of her story. The more honest truth is that illness, age recovery, and decades in show business changed her appearance and her career. That happens to real people, even when the public wants icons to stay untouched. Liza Minnelli's story should not be reduced to how she looks now. She survived more than most people realize, kept returning to the stage, and built a legacy that stands on talent, not perfection. Brigitte Nielsen. Brigitte Nielsen became famous in the 1980s because she was impossible to miss. With her height, sharp features, and strong screen presence, She stood out in films like Red Sonja and Rocky IV. She was not the quiet girl next door type Hollywood often preferred. She looked powerful, unusual, and confident. But that kind of image also comes with pressure. After her early fame, Brigitte's career became tied to tabloid attention. Her marriage to Sylvester Stallone, reality television, and public comments about her appearance. Over time, the conversation around her shifted away from her work and toward how she looked. How do you keep control of your own image when the public keeps rewriting it for you? Brigitte has been more open than many stars about cosmetic surgery. In 2008, she even allowed cameras to follow her through several procedures for a European television project. Some people criticized that choice. Others saw it as blunt honesty from someone who had spent decades being judged by the camera anyway. She also faced alcohol addiction and later appeared on Celebrity Rehab, speaking publicly about recovery. That part of her story matters because it shows more than vanity or fame. Brigitte Nielsen's life has included success, mistakes, reinvention, and survival. She should not be remembered only for how she changed, but for how many times she kept going. Kathleen Turner. Kathleen Turner was one of the strongest screen presences of the 1980s. In Body Heat, Romancing the Stone, and Peggy Sue Got Married, she had a confidence that made people pay attention right away. Her voice, her face, and the way she carried herself made her stand out in a decade full of big movie stars. But her career changed in a way many fans did not understand at the time. In the early 1990s, Turner was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, a painful autoimmune disease that affected her joints, movement, and daily life. The medication also changed her appearance, and the press was not kind. Instead of asking what she was going through, people made assumptions. How unfair is it when the public judges a woman's appearance without knowing her health battle? Turner later spoke openly about the pain, the career slowdown, and her struggle with alcohol, which she said became connected to coping with that pain. None of that erases her talent. It simply shows how much she was dealing with behind the scenes. Kathleen Turner's story is not about losing beauty. It is about illness, survival, and being judged before people knew the truth. She remained a serious actress, especially on stage, and her legacy is still built on power, skill, and honesty. Daryl Hannah. Daryl Hannah became a major name in the 1980s, with roles that people still remember today. In Blade Runner, she played Pris with a strange, unforgettable edge. In Splash, she became a mainstream star opposite Tom Hanks. Later, Kill Bill introduced her to another generation as Elle Driver, one of Quentin Tarantino's most memorable villains. But over the years, the conversation around Daryl changed. Instead of focusing only on her films, people began talking about her appearance. Rumors about cosmetic procedures followed her, especially as photos of her changed over time. Daryl has not confirmed those claims, so they should not be treated as fact. Why do people act like aging is something actresses have to explain? What is easier to prove is that Daryl stepped away from the usual Hollywood path. She became known for environmental activism, sustainable living, and speaking out on causes she cared about. Recent coverage has also noted that she has lived a quieter life focused on activism and documentary work. Daryl Hannah's story is not about losing beauty. It is about how quickly Hollywood can reduce a talented actress to comments about her face. Her legacy is bigger than that. She gave audiences memorable performances, then chose a life that was not built around staying young for other people. Priscilla Presley. Priscilla Presley spent most of her life being judged in public. First, she was known as Elvis Presley's wife. Later, she built her own name as an actress and businesswoman, with roles in Dallas and the Naked Gun films. But even after all of that, people still often talk about her face before they talk about her work. In her younger years, Priscilla was known for a very polished, classic look. Over time, her appearance changed, and the public reaction became harsh. Some of that attention came after she was reportedly treated by an unlicensed doctor who used unsafe injections. Instead of treating that as a serious mistake done to her, the media often turned it into another round of cruel comments. Why do people forget that behind every before and after photo is a real person? Priscilla also faced health concerns later in life, including skin cancer treatment. That kind of experience changes how a person feels about their body and face, but the public rarely gives celebrities that much understanding. Her story is not just about beauty or aging. It is about a woman who lived through fame loss, public judgment, and constant comparison to her younger self. Priscilla Presley should be remembered for more than appearance. She helped protect Elvis's legacy, built her own career, and kept going under a level of scrutiny most people would never survive. Joan Van Ark. Joan Van Ark became a familiar face to television audiences through Dallas, and especially Knots Landing. As Valene Ewing, she played a woman whose life was full of heartbreak, family conflict, and soap opera drama, but she gave the role real emotion. For many viewers, she was not just part of the cast. She was one of the reasons they kept watching. As the years passed, Joan's appearance became a topic of public discussion. People compared old photos with newer ones, and rumors about cosmetic procedures followed her for years. But she has not publicly confirmed those claims, so it is unfair to treat speculation as fact. Why do people remember a woman's changing face faster than the years of work she gave to television? That is the problem with fame, especially for actresses from Joan's generation. The industry praises beauty when it helps sell a show, then later turns aging into something people feel allowed to judge. Joan Van Ark's career should not be reduced to comments about her appearance. She worked for decades, built a lasting television legacy, and helped make Knots Landing one of the most remembered primetime soaps of its era. Whatever people say about how she looks today, her work is still the part that actually matters. Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher became part of movie history because of Princess Leia. In Star Wars, she was strong, sharp, brave, and different from the usual female characters audiences were used to seeing in big adventure films. She was not just there to be rescued. She fought back, gave orders, and became a hero for generations of fans. But Carrie's real life was much harder than the image people had of her. Behind the fame, she dealt with addiction, mental health struggles, and the pressure of growing up in a famous Hollywood family. She was the daughter of Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher, so public attention was part of her life long before Star Wars made her world famous. How hard is it to be treated like an icon when you are still trying to survive as a person? What made Carrie different was her honesty. She spoke openly about bipolar disorder, substance abuse, and the messy parts of fame at a time when many celebrities still tried to hide those things. Her book and one-woman show, Wishful Drinking, turned pain into humor without pretending life was easy. Carrie Fisher passed away in 2016, but her legacy is bigger than Princess Leia. She gave people courage not because she was perfect, but because she told the truth. Goldie Hawn. Goldie Hawn made people laugh before Hollywood fully understood how serious her talent was. She broke through on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, then won an Oscar for Cactus Flower. Later films like Private Benjamin Overboard and The First Wives Club made her one of the most recognizable comedy stars of her generation. But Goldie's public image was always brighter than what she was dealing with privately. She has spoken openly about becoming depressed and anxious when fame arrived in her early 20s. That kind of pressure is often hidden behind smiling interviews and red carpet photos, but it was real for her. She sought help, worked through it, and later became involved in mental health education for children. How many stars were struggling quietly while the public only saw the smile? As Goldie aged, people also began commenting on her appearance, as they do with almost every famous woman from her era. Rumors about cosmetic work have followed her, but those rumors should not define her story. Aging in public is hard enough without turning every photo into a debate. Goldie Hawn's legacy is not about whether she looks the same as she did in the 1970s. It is about timing, humor, resilience, and a career that gave audiences joy for decades. Kim Basinger. Kim Basinger was one of the most recognizable actresses of the 1980s and 1990s. In films like Batman 9.5 Weeks and Ella Confidential, she had the kind of beauty and screen presence Hollywood loved to promote. She was glamorous, quiet, and memorable without needing to overplay a scene, but her career was not as smooth as it looked from the outside. Behind the fame, Kim dealt with serious anxiety and agoraphobia, which affected her ability to live and work normally. She later spoke about how difficult it became to leave the house and face ordinary situations. How many stars look confident on screen while privately fighting fear every day? Kim also went through a major financial and legal crisis in the 1990s after backing out of the film Boxing Helena. The case damaged her finances and became one of the most talked about Hollywood contract disputes of that time. Over the years, people have also speculated about her appearance, but Kim has never made cosmetic surgery the center of her story. What matters more is that she survived pressure, anxiety, public judgment, and career setbacks while still leaving behind serious work. Kim Basinger's legacy should not be reduced to rumors or old photos. She was a talented actress who carried more than most people ever saw. Kelly LeBrock. Kelly LeBrock was one of the most recognizable screen beauties of the 1980s. In The Woman in Red and Weird Science, Hollywood presented her as the perfect fantasy woman, glamorous, confident, and almost unreal. That image made her famous, but it also boxed her in. After her marriage to Steven Seagal ended, Kelly stepped away from Hollywood. She later said she wanted to raise her children away from the pressure, attention, and noise of the industry. Instead of chasing more roles, she chose a quieter life on a ranch in California, surrounded by animals and far from the red carpets. What happens when a woman no longer wants to be the fantasy Hollywood created for her? Over the years, people have speculated about her appearance, but those rumors should not define her. Kelly has not built her later life around proving anything to the public. She has focused on family privacy and a slower way of living. Her story is not about a star who simply faded. It is about someone who walked away from an image that had become too narrow. Kelly LeBrock gave audiences two unforgettable 1980s roles, then chose a life that belonged more to her than to Hollywood. Kirstie Alley. Kirstie Alley became a major television star when she joined Cheers as Rebecca Howe. She was funny, confident, sharp, and different from the usual sitcom actress. Her performance won her an Emmy and a Golden Globe, and for a time she was one of the most recognizable women on American TV. But later in her career, the public conversation around Kirstie changed. Instead of focusing only on her acting, people began focusing heavily on her weight. She spoke openly about gaining and losing weight, and she became connected to Jenny Craig, turning something very personal into part of her public image. Why do audiences remember a woman's body changes more than the work that made her famous? That kind of attention followed her for years. Sometimes Kirstie handled it with humor. Other times it clearly showed how harsh Hollywood and the media could be toward women who did not stay the same size forever. Her body became a headline in a way that rarely happens to male stars with the same intensity. Kirstie Alley died in 2022 at age 71 after cancer that her family said had only recently been discovered. Her legacy should not be reduced to weight jokes or tabloid photos. She was a talented comic actress, a bold personality, and someone who kept working even when the public was not always kind. Linda Hamilton. Linda Hamilton became a symbol of strength because of Sarah Connor. In The Terminator, and especially Terminator 2, Judgment Day, she gave audiences one of the toughest female action characters in movie history. She was intense, physical, and believable. People remembered her not because she looked perfect, but because she looked like someone who had survived. But Linda's real life was much more difficult than the image fans had of her. For years, she struggled with depression and bipolar disorder before speaking publicly about it in 2004. She later said those years affected her relationships, her career, and the way she saw herself. How many strong women on screen are quietly fighting battles no one sees? Linda also stepped away from the constant pressure of Hollywood. She has been honest about not wanting to chase youth or pretend aging does not happen. That honesty makes her different from the usual celebrity story. Instead of trying to protect an old image forever, she has focused more on peace, privacy, and accepting herself. Her story is not about losing beauty. It is about surviving mental health struggles, living through fame, and refusing to let Hollywood define her worth by appearance. Linda Hamilton's legacy is still Sarah Connor, but it is also her honesty, and that may be even stronger. Jessica Lange. Jessica Lange built one of the strongest acting careers of her generation. She was not just known for beauty. She was known for serious performances, emotional range, and the ability to carry difficult roles without making them feel forced. Her work in Tootsie and Blue Sky earned her 2 Academy Awards, and later projects proved she could keep finding new audiences long after many actresses were pushed aside. But Jessica's life was not as simple as the image people saw on screen. Over the years, there have been rumors about cosmetic procedures, especially as her appearance changed with age. She has never made those rumors the center of her public story, so they should not be treated as fact. Why do people study an actress's face more closely than the work she spent decades building? Jessica has also spoken about depression, a struggle that many people face privately, even when they look successful from the outside. That part of her story makes her feel more human, not weaker. What stands out about Jessica Lange is that she kept working with depth and seriousness. She did not need to be frozen in one version of herself to remain powerful. Her legacy is not about looking the same forever. It is about talent, endurance, and a career that kept proving she was more than an image. Victoria Principal. Victoria Principal is still best remembered as Pamela Barnes Ewing on Dallas. In the late 1970s and 1980s, she became one of the most recognizable women on television. She had the look, the poise, and the screen presence that fit perfectly with a primetime drama built on money, power, romance, and betrayal. But after years in the spotlight, the conversation around Victoria shifted. People began focusing less on her work and more on how she looked as she got older. Because she was once known for her beauty, the public seemed to feel entitled to question every change in her face. Why do people treat aging well like it needs an explanation? Victoria has denied having cosmetic surgery, saying her appearance came from skincare discipline and healthy living. That should be taken seriously. Rumors may follow celebrities, but rumors are not the same as facts. What makes Victoria's story different is that she did not stay trapped inside Hollywood. After leaving Dallas, she became a successful businesswoman and launched her skincare line Principal Secret in 1989. She built a second career instead of relying only on old fame. Victoria Principal's legacy is not just about beauty. It is about knowing when to leave, how to reinvent yourself, and how to keep control of your own image. Faye Dunaway. Faye Dunaway was one of the defining actresses of the late 1960s and 1970s. Bonnie and Clyde made her a star. Chinatown proved how powerful she could be in a serious drama, and Network won her the Academy Award for Best Actress. She had talent, beauty, and a sharp intensity that made her hard to ignore, but her public image became complicated over time. People talked about her looks, her reputation, and the stories of difficult behavior on set. Some rumors about cosmetic procedures followed her, but she has never made those claims the main story, so they should not be treated as fact. Why does Hollywood remember a woman's flaws louder than her best work? In recent years, Dunaway has spoken more openly about her bipolar diagnosis, including in the documentary Faye. That context matters. It does not erase every difficult moment, but it helps explain that there was more going on behind the scenes than the old difficult actress label suggested. Faye Dunaway's story is not just about aging or controversy. It is about a brilliant actress whose legacy became tangled with public judgment. Whatever people say about her appearance or personality, her work in Bonnie and Clyde Chinatown and Network remains part of film history. Madonna. Madonna has spent more than 4 decades refusing to be quiet. Since the 1980s, she has changed pop music, fashion, music videos, and the way female artists talk about power, sex, fame, and control. She was never just a singer. She became a cultural force. But that kind of fame comes with a price. As Madonna got older, the public became more focused on her appearance than her music. Every photo, every award show, every close-up seemed to turn into a debate about aging cosmetic procedures and whether she still looked like the Madonna people remembered. Why do people celebrate a woman for reinventing herself, then attack her when she actually changes? After her appearance at the 2023 Grammy Awards, Madonna faced heavy online criticism. Some fans were shocked, others were cruel, and the conversation quickly became less about her legacy and more about her face. Madonna pushed back, saying much of the reaction was rooted in ageism and misogyny. That is the real story here. Madonna has always been judged more harshly because she refuses to act the way people expect older women to act. Her appearance may have changed, but her influence has not disappeared. She is still one of the most important entertainers of the modern era, and no headline about her face can erase that. Cher. Cher has never been the kind of star people could easily put in one box. She started in the 1960s with Sonny Bono, became a television favorite, built a huge solo music career, and later proved herself as an actress with Moonstruck. Most performers are lucky to have one successful era. Cher has had several, but that kind of long career also means growing older in front of everyone. Cher's appearance has been discussed for decades, partly because she has been more open than many stars about having cosmetic surgery. She has never acted like beauty choices were something she needed to hide. That honesty made her different, but it also gave the public another reason to judge her. Why do people ask women to stay young, then criticize them for trying? Cher has also dealt with health challenges, including Epstein-Barr virus, which affected her career and energy in the late 1980s. Still, she kept coming back on stage in films, on television, and in music. Her story is not about whether she looks the same as she did in 1965. Nobody does. Cher's real legacy is survival, reinvention, and refusing to disappear just because the industry expected older women to step aside.